Hey guys, I'm so sorry. It's unbelievable. Let me put this on Do Not Disturb. Alright, I'm gonna try this one more time. If for some reason, I lose my connection again, I'm just gonna, contact, the Miracles and just get this rescheduled because I'm so sorry. I don't know what else to do. I keep on trying to do it on my laptop and still it just keeps on kicking me out. And I've taken it off of Wi-Fi, put it back on. So I'm really not sure what else. Sorry, I was trying to go through the notification to possibly do. But I'm going to try to start. If I get kicked off, like I said, I will contact them and just go ahead and get this rescheduled for another day and time. But, alright, let's talk about transitioning from a cottage food to commercial kitchen. My name is Kelly Chervon. I own Chervon Cakes and Cookies. I live in Brandon, Florida, which is just east of Tampa. Tampa is like central, right in the middle of the state. So I started my business in 2019 as Cottage Food. And now I'm not seeing any comments, so don't think that I'm ignoring your comments if you're commenting. Great. Okay. It's always something. Let me try to go on through this other phone so I can see your comments. Okay. I got that going. What was I saying? I'm sorry. Oh yeah, so I started my business in 2019 as Cottage Food, obviously out of my home. I was working full time. I have always worked in bakery, so I was a cake decorator at the time at a local grocery store here. And I then, sorry, I got my notes over here. If I keep on looking to the side, I'll move over here so I'm not looking away. And then I'm like really bad at social media as far as like posting on social media and getting ahead of that. It's just like exhausting. I don't know how people keep up with that. So whenever I first started my business, I made the mistake and I had just started a group, which talking to some marketing people after I had started my group for my business page, that was like the worst thing that you can do because it's like talking to a closed talking about your business in a closet. You know what I mean? No one's going to hear you except maybe the person that you're in there with. So as far as like expanding your business, like starting a group is like just a very hard thing to reach new customers. So like advise me to start a business page and do that. So, and it was quite a while. I had the group for a while and then transitioned to, the business page the right way. So then I could advertise and, properly. Obviously, you guys know the benefits of, or I hope know the benefits of having a business page to, reach, new people. I really honestly didn't start like my Instagram until like last year. I'm still really bad at posting on it. I don't know. It should be easy, but it's not for me. I started with markets. Whenever I started my business in August of 2019, I started with markets right away. So like I said, I was working full time, so it was, I'm still not seeing comments. So if you guys are commenting, I'm so sorry. I guess I'll have to maybe go back and answer them via typing. I don't know. This is crazy. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, started with markets right away. I was working full time, 40 plus hours, sometimes 50, 55 hours, and then doing the markets as well. It's hard. It is really hard. And then it wasn't until I left/lost my full-time job in April of 2020. Hey, Sandy. Yay, I see a comment. Thankfully. I lost that job in April of 2020 due to COVID. And I was just like, okay, well, I guess we are doing our business full time, and here we go. So still, obviously when COVID happened, the markets, were shut down for several months, and it wasn't until, and I was just doing like custom orders and stuff, still, and then it wasn't until, a couple months before markets started back up here. Like I said, I'm in Florida, so for me, it's nice because markets run, yes, thank you, Kimberly. I think touching the screen is what did it. Oh, and there we go. Now we just lost you. I swear I'm not this much of a mess. Or maybe I am in real life. All right. So there's that. Oh, there we go. Now I see people popping on. Hi, Kimberly. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Tina. Try to straighten you up there. All right. Sorry, I lost track of what I was saying. So I was doing the markets, full time once I left my job, and once, everything started back up from COVID. Living in Florida, that's what I was saying. Luckily, the markets pretty much run year round. There's a little bit in the summer where it's just so hot that there aren't markets. Or the ones that are there, just people aren't going out to. So yeah, I was doing like up to 5, sometimes 6 markets a week, which I know sounds like a lot and crazy, but it is. But I enjoy doing markets. I do custom orders as well on cakes and cookies, and then I have my website where they can order, if you want to call them drop cookies, I call them gourmet cookies, of all different flavors. And I have a pretty decent customer base for that. So in September of 2021 is when I transitioned from cottage food to the commercial kitchen. I kind of knew the beginning of last year in March or so that I probably was going to need to make the transition just because of how much my business had grown. Oh, again, if you guys are watching this on the replay, #replay, and I'll go back and answer the comments. Sandy, how do you find the markets? So you can join Facebook groups around you. There's several ones that are Tampa vendors, markets of Tampa Bay, or that are specific to my area, or Central Florida vendor markets and festivals, I think is another one. So if you just search or go into events on Facebook, and you can search through there, it'll say near you, and then you can start to find events. And then a lot of them is just really word of mouth. As you kind of get into the market scene, you can just start marketing your business yourself to other vendors and start, you go to another market, where do you go? You know what I mean? You'll start to hear where are good markets. And honestly, the really, really good markets are really hard to get into, especially if you live in a larger town, because everybody wants to be there. But you need to position yourself to be, if you want to do markets, to get into those larger markets or something where you're, I mean, I think everyone has done those markets where you're, in a parking lot and 5 customers show up and you're just like, this is ridiculous. Why am I wasting my time? And honestly, that's a shame because it's, poor management on the market, on the, vendors, not properly advertising themselves and sharing that they're going to be there. That's a whole nother, issue. But yeah, it takes time, honestly. And then just going, if you're not going to vend at a market and you're not sure if it's a regular market, if it's something that's just like once a year or something, you want to take a gamble on it, or if you heard that it is a great market or a great event or a festival, typically the larger festivals, now they cost more money, but they bring the people. It's heavily publicized, advertised. There's going to be thousands of people there. So the, it's searching. It's going to them and finding out what works for you, what works for your business, what you sell at a specific market, what doesn't sell for you, and something that may sell really good at one location may not sell at another one. It's all just trial and error and just finding out, what works best. And I'm still, like I said, in 2019 when I started the business, I went right into markets. Oh, you're welcome. And I mean, I'm still making changes to, what 3 years later, into what I carry or, how I do things. It's constantly evolving as to, how you do things. And that's okay. I mean, that's what it takes. So, there is no, you're gonna come out like anything with your business. Like, you're gonna come out right out of the gate and have all the right answers and all the, everything, all the tools, right out of the bat. So, the kitchen that I am at, it goes like monthly plans. I think most of them are probably structured that way. At least in my town they are. And I don't know if that, I don't want to speak for everything. And obviously any of this information, you need to, if you're considering making that transition, you need to, obviously see what that kitchen is, requiring, which I would like to think that they are, obviously you need the basics, so it'll be pretty close, but you just want to make sure that, you're meeting all their requirements. So mine is prepaid for the month. It comes out like the 5th of the month, for that month. And then also oh my God, I'm so sorry. No, what happened? There you are. Oh God, guys. I swear, I can run a business. This is crazy. It's probably like, this girl's nuts. So the 5th of the month, I may have missed this. Do you rent a commercial kitchen or do you have a retail store? I rent a commercial kitchen. My goal is to have a retail store, but because of, I'm sure everyone's, why or how is different. For me, financially, I just could not go to into a retail location. So going into as far as what it cost me, like I was saying, the prepaid for the month that comes out the 5th of the month. So I'm paying for that month as well as any overages that I had on the previous month. So if I chose a 40-hour plan and I went 5 hours over, that'll be on my 5th the bill that comes out of the 5th day of the month, and it'll have the overages charges for the previous month. And for my kitchen, I can change my plan, but I have to, like, I can't go, like, they have plans as low as 10 hours a month. And then the max that I've done is 60 hours a month. That was obviously the month of December. It was, crazy. It was enough hours for me, but I used every ounce of the 60 hours. I probably could have gone over, but I got to the point where I was just like, okay, you gotta manage your time to get, within that. Because I just didn't want to pay the next. Then it goes to an hourly rate every time you go over. So I'm cheap. I didn't want to pay that. So also, for the kitchen, you'll need to submit your articles of incorporation through, so if it's like an LLC, or if you are, however you have your business structured, that's one of the things that you need to submit when you're applying. Your manager's food handling safety certification. Now there are two different, like there's just a regular food certification, and then there's a manager's food certification. It's like ServSafe would probably be the most popular or like widely known name. And there are several ones that I have mine through ServSafe, but there are several ones, out there that your health department will accept. But you want to make sure that it's one that they're accepting, because if you go ahead and take the course and then you pay the ServSafe is like $300. So if you go ahead and take the course and say you either take the wrong course, if it's the regular like employee version, and not the food manager, they're just like, well, too bad, you gotta take it again. Now the regular one isn't as high as 300. I forget what the regular, ServSafe food certification is. So it's not as high as that, but that you need to have the right one. So you want to make sure that you're taking the right course and that your kitchen and Department of Agriculture accepts the course that you're taking. These overages, is that for the kitchen rental? Is it by the hour? Sorry if I missed that clarification. Yes, so the overages are, so for example, on my plan, 40 hours per month comes out to $9.63 an hour at regular time, and that totals to $385 per month. Now all these charges are plus tax, and then I also rent a storage area. It's like a big cabinet where I can store all of my my ingredients. And then I have a freezer combo, and then a small freezer. And those are, the storage locker is $40. And the refrigerator, I want to say, is $35. 35 and 35, something like that. Plus the tax. So it comes to $534.62 with tax for 40 hours. So if I go over my 40 hours, any additional hours above the 40 hours is $9 per hour. So it's a slightly reduced rate. You're saving 63 cents per hour for the overage. Now again, this is my kitchen. This is not going to be, across the book. I've seen a lot where some people are paying $15 an hour, $20 an hour, $25 an hour. I guess it depends on the city, what you're doing. But whenever you're doing your pricing, if you're going to go into this, you need to factor all of your overhead into this. So if you are doing cottage food and you are not making a profit at home, I would not go into a commercial kitchen. You need to figure out what it's going to take for you to make a profit at home. You cannot incur more fees and more overhead if you're not making a profit with. I'm working out of your home. I mean, honestly, is obviously the least overhead that you're going to have. So if you're not making a profit, you need to figure out why you're not making a profit. Is it your pricing? Are you not charging enough? Are you throwing too much away? In food terms, it's called shrink. Are you, say you make a bunch of stuff for the market and you throw half of that away. That's going to come out of your profit. I got my certificate previous for service score. Also score. Oh, awesome. Yeah, the serve save, I believe that's something that can be transferred. Well, it's not really transferred. It's just like, oh, like, hey, I have this kind of thing. They just need to see the certification. Oh, need to have surgery. Do you have set hour schedules that you have to be there for your work? Are there any other people working? Okay, so my kitchen, I'm probably the, person that uses the kitchen the most, honestly. There are other people that use the kitchen, and will be there when I'm there, but they most of them, I'm the only person that does my business full time that works out of the commercial kitchen that I'm at. Everyone else has a full-time job, and they do their business, primarily in the evening hours, so they are there, evening times. I try to stay on like a daylight schedule, as far as going in and like mixing and baking, so I can utilize my hours like the best that works for me, and laughably try to have a work-life balance, which I haven't found that balance yet, so I don't know what that means. They increase the amount of time between recertification. What do you mean, Courtney? With the going from the regular one to the manager one, or vice versa? I think one is shorter time that the certification is good for. I just can't remember. I guess it would make sense that it's probably the manager to get tested more often. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But anyways, so we talked about the general liability insurance for ServSafe. Yes, okay, gotcha. General liability insurance, I do mine through Flip. I think that's if you're doing markets, and you should have insurance. It's really not that expensive. It's $300, like $299 something for the year, and that can cover all of your markets. Like you can add on markets, and like say I'm doing one at a coffee shop. I could put that coffee shop as an extension on the policy, and that covers if anything were to happen there. Now, some markets don't require it, but when you get into a lot of the larger markets, they're going to require it. And then I need it for the kitchen anyways, so, the management is, 3 years. Yeah, you're right. And then... so Flip is not the only insurance you can use. Any insurance really has like, policies that you can use. You just need to call and find out what it would be. And you can call an insurance agent, and they'll let you know what the policy is. Flip is just what I went through. What else? I think that's everything. Food permit, we already talked about that. So you basically, to get into a kitchen, if you have not filed for your business and say you're not as a LLC or however you want to structure your business, a corporation or whatever works for you, then you are probably looking at to get into a kitchen, depending on what your monthly rate is, you're probably looking at about like $3,000 probably to get in, with everything that you're going to need, because your health, your Department of Agriculture for Florida, it is $500 for the year. Now that is if you are going to get licensed and you are going to start after, when is it, July 31st, they prorate it. So when I started in September 1st of 2021, they prorated September through December 31st, 2021, and it was almost $400. So it's not that much cheaper to do the full year. I wasn't sure of how, when they say prorated to me means that you're dividing out, to me anyways, you're dividing out the calendar years, the calendar days, and I'm going to pay, that X amount for those days of the month. Not basically, I'm paying almost the full thing. So if you're thinking about doing it, and again, I'm not sure if every state is like that. You would have to check into that of how your state does it. But obviously it's beneficiary to start at the beginning, closer to the beginning of the year, because you're in fees you're paying, and then that renews, that's up the 31st of December. You have to renew. Okay, what else? I had written down here about covering overhead. I kind of slightly talked about that. You definitely need to have a plan of, how are you going to cover those extra expenses now? So you can't, whatever you make, you can't just incur all these extra expenses of the kitchen and not have extra to cover it. So you need to figure out what you're going to do. If it's wholesale, now whenever you apply for your permitting, there is separate permits as well for if you're going to do wholesale, if you're going to sell retail, if you're going to, and there's different, labeling requirements. There's different things that you need to do for each of those categories. Now, when I got my regular permit through the Department of Agriculture, I also have a mobile license since I do the markets. That is not anything extra. It's just a extra permit, if you want to say, that I needed to add on to my Department of Agriculture permit, stating that I am a mobile vendor, that I'm going to other places and selling my product. I'm just not, I don't have a storefront. I'm not just, selling out of the commercial kitchen. I have other locations I'm selling to. So if you're going to do like wholesale somehow, boutiques, coffee shops, other small businesses, whatever your plan is, you need to have something else that is going to cover that cost. Or if it's just going to be markets, that's great. Currently, right now, that is what I'm doing. The first of the year, my plan was for September through December to focus on the markets and getting through the holidays, and then of the first of the year starting with wholesale. But what are we in? What are we, the 11th? And I have not even started wholesale. Like right after Christmas, the markets that I'm at are still crazy, crazy busy. I cannot even like fathom doing wholesale right now. Do all the states need? Yes. Yes. You will need to be registered with the Department of Agriculture to work out of a commercial kitchen. Yes. Oh, what I had said earlier about when we were talking about finding markets, obviously if you can find those, if your state and city has larger festivals, I know, with baked goods, it's super hard to like travel to like things, far away. It's not like you can just, if you have clothes or, jewelry or candles or something, you can just throw them in your car and drive 3 hours away and set up at this humongous music festival and, sell. You're making perishable goods. It's a lot harder to travel. The market that I do 2 days a week is at a beach, so it's like heavily tourist area where there's just tons of people. It's obviously bringing in tons of people. So it's just with pretty much disposable income. They're there vacationing and, it's constantly a rotating door of new customers, which is good and bad. If you want to be able to like sustain having new regular customers, local customers that are going to continue to buy from you, but that's just a different, setup. This is just more of they're there, they want something to eat, and they come and buy. Typically, people say that you should, if you're paying your vendor fees, you should be making 10 times the amount of your vendor fee. So if you're paying $40, then the minimum that you should be making for that day is $400. And maybe you don't want to do markets, then I know other people have done lives on, doing pop-ups at home. I live in an apartment, so for me that, it's not an option. That doesn't work. If you can do pop-ups at your home or do, you want to structure your business to do, pop-ups out of your home if they're, twice a month, or if you have the customer base to come to your house to do that, then that could work as well. But I think that would be a harder thing to do as far as working out of a commercial kitchen. And then if you have that customer base, then I don't know. If there's anyone that does it that way, feel free to comment. To me, that doesn't seem like it would be enough people. What is a pop-up? So some people do pop-ups out of their home. So it's like, they call it a pop-up shop. Like, so where you set up your tent and your product, and are, selling to customers. Typically you're advertising ahead of time to that. It's not like a market of people, it's just you and your items. Now there are some people that do that, like setting up outside of a business or like a coffee shop, like I was saying before. Maybe you have a friend that has a store that you could, set up outside of, or if you're going to do wholesale, then them buying the product from you and selling for you. Is there any other questions with the kitchen? And I wanted to touch a little bit on like pricing. All right. So with pricing, you want to make sure that you are pricing like, I believe, are the miracles on? I believe that there is another live coming up on pricing, so I don't want to go too crazy with that I know we're kind of getting late with the late start. It's already almost 9 o'clock. So I don't want to go too crazy talking about pricing. But you need to, with pricing, you need to be in the 60 to 69% gross margin when you're pricing your products. If you're going to pay yourself. Honestly, if you go below that, you're not going to be able to make a wage to pay yourself. Once you're taking out everything else, all your overhead and your other costs. I track all of my sales through Square. That's what I use for my point of sale at markets. And all of my, for custom orders that I do have, with cakes and cookies that I send invoices through Square, and it's all tracked through Square. As well as my website is linked through Square, and that, all goes automatically as far as payments. And then the only thing that is not linked to Square, but I do record in Square, is if at a market or if someone wants to pay, I do have Venmo business, then I will record it as a Square transaction. If you record your transaction, and then if you hit, I believe it's other, and then you can just type what the other payment is that you received. So then I just type Venmo in there, and it's just like a recording kind of purposes. So it's going in towards my sales, but it's not saying that I collected, that money on through Square, basically. Do I set aside percentage for operating expenses and taxes? Not per se set aside. But I, yes and no, I guess. I'm paying myself a monthly wage, or I pay myself bi-weekly. So I'm paying myself bi-weekly, and then the rest is going back into the business. So, I'm not really, I guess, essentially setting aside, but the money is there for whenever I need to pay those expenses, if that makes sense. Would you use Square and other programs? Yes, I do. That was my next thing, Sandy. I do use QuickBooks. So I use QuickBooks Online. So my daily transactions get transferred from my Square to QuickBooks. Now, since the beginning of the year, now is a great time to start some kind of accounting process, whether it's QuickBooks or whatever you want to use. But for QuickBooks, whenever they transfer your daily sales, it doesn't go so we're the 11th day in, it's not going to record all those previous sales. It's just going to, transfer your daily sales from here on. So anything, say if you wait until May or June to whatever start, you're going to need to input physically all of your other sales into your accounting software. So, and that is at least for QuickBooks. I can't speak for other ones because I haven't used them. But that I know of, there is no other way to transfer pre-existing transactions that were linked to your Square into your QuickBooks. Anything previously would have to be manually entered. So I use the QuickBooks Online. I think it's $15 to $18 a month to use. Like I said, all transactions get transferred daily. The only thing that I need to do is weekly, bi-weekly, however you want to set it up. I go in, enter my expenses, and then at the end of the month, you can print out your balance sheet and your P&L with the QuickBooks Online. Those two, there's several other reports that are included, but those are like your two major ones. Obviously, you need to know your profit and loss and then your balance sheet for the month. Is it too personal to ask what you want to pay yourself? Brittany, it depends on, it depends on what you, I don't want to say what you want to make, because, you can't just take all the money out of your business and not have anything to leave back in there. So obviously it's not completely up to you, but that's why having a plan for the commercial kitchen and how you're going to utilize those hours and that space to come up with that income is so important. So you need to figure out what you need to make to cover all of those expenses of the kitchen, plus pay yourself the wage that you would like to make. So I know that's very open-ended, but that's a hard thing to we would all want to make like unlimited money, obviously, where there was no bottom, but you still need to keep that money in your business. Roughly, just for reference, I pay myself typically 50% of what my sales are. That is another reason why I price my items at between 60 and 69% gross profit. So if I were to have any shrink or anything, items that I'm throwing away, that I'm still given that little bit of a cushion where I can still, have that money for my wage. Do you have to enter the tracks or QuickBooks, or is it done automatically? Do you have to do both? So you can enter transactions manually, or and as well you can set it up to automatically transfer your transactions, and that goes through daily. So it's all, I had transactions processed on the January 11th. They'll show in my QuickBooks for January 11th. So everything is, dated that date that those sales took place. Oh, absolutely. I'm almost done. Sorry. It's answering my husband. Will you be discussing a realistic business plan in this meeting? I don't think it's running a little late. I have to hop off here pretty soon. There was a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. I can talk with the Miracles and maybe do something else for a business plan. If, no one else has that in the works, we can look at the other lives and see, what else is scheduled. If not, then we can definitely do that. When it comes to costs and figuring out if you're making Tika, is it Tika? I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Hopefully I said that right. So whenever you're pricing out your recipes, you want to essentially price out each ingredient, and then you're going to total that all together. This is like in a nutshell. Total that all together, and then I said it right, or I said it wrong. Hopefully I said it right. Total that all together, and then you're going to divide that out into what that is making. I know that's a very vague answer, but so if hold on. Oh, I can't. It's on that. I can't. It's on that phone. I have a recipe app that I can input all my ingredients in, the cost. Then I input my recipe into it, and then it tells me what it costs for that recipe, and then I just have to add in all my packaging, and then from that I can add any of my overhead that I figure out hourly of what it costs me to make that recipe, and then my wage, and then get to a cost per package. Real quick, I don't know what else. Oh, okay. So, last couple things. Inventory, then we talked about pricing, sales tracking, and I did want to touch on like daily, weekly sales goals. So if you are, anybody should have weekly and monthly sales goals. So basically I have like a planner, and I write out each week what my sales goals are for the week. And then as far as the month, what I did the previous year, that month. So I know, where I am sales wise. Did I completely miss my sales goal? Am I above my sales goal? What is happening that I'm not hitting my sales goal if I'm not hitting it? What app is that? I just got this new phone, so not the information's in it, or I would show you how it breaks down a recipe, but it's called Food Cost Calculator is the app, and it's free. How long have you been in business? Cheryl, I started my business in 2019, August of 2019, and in September of 2021, I moved to the commercial kitchen. That's awesome. Absolutely, Katika. If ingredients are through the roof, so if you have not if you've done any costs, analysis on your recipes, and you have not redone cost analysis, now is definitely a good time to do that, so you can figure out, where you need to increase your prices. Talked about the sales goals, weekly sales goals, pricing, we talked about that. Inventory, if you aren't have some kind of inventory tracking, I definitely recommend that. I don't have an app that I use. I definitely am, especially since moving into the kitchen, just like when I moved in, it was like right out of the ground, just crazy busy with markets. So I really myself never even implemented an inventory tracking sheet. I would just kind of open up like a notes app in my phone and type what I had in my storage area that I was talking about as for dry goods, and then in my fridge, if I had 3 flats of eggs left, what I'll just write down a brief inventory, so I knew what I needed to order for the next time that I placed my order. But I definitely would recommend, and I need to do myself, like an inventory sheet, so you can track, and even if you're not like in a commercial kitchen, so what ingredients you have on hand, so you're not, if you're running to the store 50 times a week, then obviously that's time that you're wasting doing those things, where you could be spending on any other time or other parts of your business. All right, guys, if there's no other questions, I think that is everything. I know I had a late start. Thanks for joining me and staying on and hanging on through losing connection 50 times. But if you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment on this, or if you watch the replay, #replay, I'll go back and answer any other questions that I see. And thank you guys for joining me. I hope I answered any of your questions that you had. Oh, you're welcome, Sandy. You're welcome, Juan. You're welcome, Cheryl. And what was the other with the business plan? Yeah, so we can we'll see if there's any other things and talk more about business plan on another live maybe. You're welcome, April. All right, guys. If there's no other questions, I'm gonna hop off. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, bye.